Hello. Day 3 of Paizo's Gen Con Online 2021 seminar stream continues. Once again, we are the hosts of the No Direction podcast and the directors of the No Direction network. Paizo has invited us to host a few panels this year, including this panel as well. I'm Ryan Costello.
And I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Baron.
We are joined by Jenny Jarzabski, line developer for Paizo's Starfinder Society Organized Play program.
Hello, good morning, or good time of day, whatever it is for you, because I know we've got some people in different time zones out there.
It's true. We are crossing the time zones. It's morning for you and afternoon for us.
Indeed.
The future is now.
Oh gosh, it's almost like it's Starfinder or something.
Now, Jenny, this probably doesn't surprise you, but Aaron from Paizo was curating questions for all of the people that we were interviewing, and you got more questions than the three other guests combined, and they were all nitty-gritty Starfinder Society questions. There's a lot of them. Having heard you interviewed before, I know you know your stuff, and I know that if we just jump some random question from some random scenario, you will probably be able to answer the question right away, like immediately recall the knowledge. I just wonder how much time you want to just spend before we dive into all of these questions, before we dive into the weeds.
Well, I mean, that depends. Honestly, that depends. Like, if you had any questions you wanted to ask me, or I could introduce myself briefly, although looking at chat, I know a lot of folks in here know me, or at least familiar with me, but I am open either way. Still kind of caffeinating myself a little bit today, so...
So we are talking to a Paizo dedicated audience, but just in case people aren't familiar with you, who are you? How did you get into Starfinder Society on the Paizo side? And I believe you were a player long before you started working at Paizo.
Oh yes. So I basically, I feel like I started as a GM or like a player of, these sorts of games when I was a kid, because I went to a different school. Like, I was transferred schools when I was very young. And so I went from having a bunch of friends to not knowing anybody. So I would just kind of like walk around in circles and tell stories to myself. And unfortunately, I would say them out loud. So like, it was not like a thing that other kids thought was cool, until I finally had some other weird kids come up and be like, what's the story about? Like, can you tell me the story? And so we started acting out the stories. And so from there, eventually, like, it wasn't actually until college that I found my way into Pathfinder. I started playing with some friends, actually. Oh gosh, one of them, Majuba and his wife on the forums. For anyone who knows them, they are awesome people. I started playing a home game with them, and Majuba talked me into going to Pathfinder Society. So I went and I fell in love with it. So I started GMing, going to cons, and before I knew it, I was at a Paizo con meeting all these cool Paizo people, and I was sitting with Thurston Hillman, and I didn't know who this was. I just thought he was a cool guy, and apparently, he was this big freelancer for the company. And so a couple years later, I finally met Owen Casey Stevens, who, again, I didn't know who he was. Like, I didn't realize I was sitting down next to like one of our legendary, RPG, like TTRPG writers and like general good humans of like the whole world. And he asked me, he's like, well, you like to write and you're imaginative and you like to GM. So do you ever want to write for these games? And from there, kind of the rest is history. So I started freelancing, and I got hired at Paizo full time just over a year ago, in the middle of the panorama. So it's funny because I've only actually stepped into the office like 2 times, and I have some coworkers who I've spoken with, but I've never actually like seen their face. But I feel like I know them, but I don't really know them. So I feel like the first company party or meeting that I go to that's in person, we're all gonna have to wear we're all gonna have to wear name tags. Like, that's gonna have to be a thing. So anyway, that's just kind of how I got started with TTRPGs and Paizo, for those who don't know.
I can relate to that story so much, because before I found role-playing games, I was a liar because I had no creative channel. And so I would just make stuff up, pass it off like reality. So having role-playing games and having a way to tell a story that, was allowed really changed my life and made it that much better. Also, everyone you mentioned is some of my favorite people in the hobby, right down to Majuba and his wife.
Yeah, I mean, they are high class, amazing people, and I guess I just walked into the right group. Like, I feel like this like destiny kind of like brought me to where I am now. So yes, definitely. And if any of them are out there in the chat right now, hello. I see a lot of people that I know, so thank y'all so much for being here.
Now, for anybody tuning in who might not be familiar with what Starfinder organized play is, could you give the elevator pitch and why it's amazing?
Absolutely. So, Starfinder Society is obviously our Starfinder branch of organized play. And organized play is super cool because you can make a character and take that character anywhere in the world that has an organized play game. So you could be living in Dallas and go down to your local comic book or game store, friendly local gaming store, I guess, as we usually like to say, and play with a group of people every weekend. But then if you were on a business trip to San Francisco, you could just look it up on Warhorn or, go on our org play Discord and say, hey, where's that lodge? And you could go sign up for a game and meet some new people, but you're playing your same character that you played in Dallas, right? And then you go to Gen Con and you can bring that character and play in the big special. So I just think it's really cool because it's a worldwide living campaign. And that allows us to do things like we can track decisions that players are making at their tables and let that inform the world, like the narrative decisions that we are making as developers. That it's honestly like I joke about it a lot, but it's the tracking at the end of scenarios. Like whenever there's a big choice, like do you kill this person or do you capture them or did they get away? Or oh gosh, you found out this dark secret about this planet. Do you tell them? Like, do you let them know or do you keep it hidden so that they don't have to face this terrible reality rending truth that will ruin their society and like upheave everything. And I love to look at those. Like, honestly, I think we all do. Like all of us devs, we love to look at those after it's been like a few months or a few years and see what the majority of tables voted for. And sometimes, like, we truly do use those choices. Okay, well, most tables killed that character, so that character is not around anymore. Or in one case, a notable case of last year's special, most players spared this villain instead of getting their revenge. So okay, so she gets to come back and menace and or possibly help the society in a suspicious way. So I just really love that about the game. It's like this huge community that spans across the world.
So that excuse me. That segues nicely into the first question we've got from our Discord audience, which is: are you planning to bring back enemies from earlier seasons? Jinsel and Datch are their specific examples for occasional cameos.
Well, Datch has already come back once in year 4. She had a little quest pack actually, where she's sitting there in the adamantine prison, which is really weird, or the Bastille, I think it's called. I don't know why there's a prison in the society. Don't worry, we're getting to that. Like, I don't think there needs to be a jail in the Lore Spire complex, but hey, I inherited it, so I don't know. But she's down there in like a holding cell basically, and she's got this contingency plan set up to really mess up Abadar Corp. It was like in case she got captured or something like that. And so basically in an act of goodwill to lessen her sentence and like get out and earn points, she's telling some Starfinder agents, okay, this is how you stop it. So they have to get little missions from her to go and collect like the encrypted passwords so that they can then like go and save, Abadar Corp from getting locked out of the Golden Vault for honestly probably just a few days. They'd figure it out, but it would cost a lot of money and they'd probably be kind of mad. So she's already come back. Jinsel's, I don't want to confirm or deny that, but I will say that, the Scoured Stars is open now. There's not like the tier is not there anymore. And we already have other species like from the Cryhome Freehold are joining the society and kind of exploring the rest of space. So that is a threat that could potentially come back, especially if any troublesome Starfinders were to wander too close to that part of space.
So one of the reasons I really love the Starfinder Society adventures is how much you guys embrace fun and zaniness and just taking things to 11 as a matter of cause. How many hours of the workday are dedicated to maniacal cackling?
Oh, a non-zero sum. I haven't tracked my maniacal cackling. Maybe I should get on that because I think we're supposed to like track our tasks. So sorry, Linda, I haven't tracked my maniacal cackling for the week. I'll make sure to do that. I'll make sure to do that moving forward.
But that does in a more serious version of that question, how do you all decide what all you get to, because Starfinder embraces so many possibilities and is trying to live up to thousands of reputations for sci-fi fun and even fantasy fun. So how do you all get to decide like which adventures are going to be the episode of the week?
So typically, sometimes I plan like alone. And when I say alone, I feel like it's never really alone. Like I have a few trusted friends who are basically friend DA'd who know that, if they ever tell, like I'll find them. And so we'll be like playing a video game or watching anime or something, and we'll just start like spitballing ideas. And then I'll take that and then, go like think about it. I'll go take a walk or listen to music, and then I'll write it down. And then sometimes we'll have meetings together. Like Thirsty and I have some really fun brainstorming sessions. So basically, so that's part of it. Part of it is just coming up with ideas. I like to pull from popular culture and current events. One scenario that's coming out, I teased it on my panel, the org play panel on Thursday. It has been announced. It's Precious Cargo, written by our always forever very own Diego Valdez. It is basically this wacky idea we had. What if the Suez Canal ship that stalled had emotions? And so basically, so it's just stuff like that. Like we'll take like a like current event and be like, that sounds like a Starfinder scenario, and just kind of go off. And then sometimes what we'll do is we'll try to support the other product lines, right? Like Starfinder APs and the core books, like the hardcovers. So like I'll look at Near Space and I'll say, okay, I'm going to just read through this book on a weekend. I'm going to deep dive back into some planets, and I'm going to pick, something that seems really cool, and we're going to go there. Like, have we been there in society before? No. Okay, so let's do that. And that's also hyping our Near Space book and introducing our players to those worlds. So there's like two things that go into it. It's like we're trying to explore like the new content that the rest of our team is coming up with, because they're super awesome. And we're also just, random crazy ideas. Like right now, I actually have a document on my desktop that's called Garfield Phone Paradox. And it has like the more zany ideas that I might visit at some point. And that's all I'll say about that.
That's all you're leaving us with Garfield Phone Paradox, and that's all you'll say about it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So I was playing Pathfinder Society right from season 0, and one of the things I appreciated over the seasons was that there was a disconnect that just kind of went away between the rules and what was going on in society. And it sounds like that really is a focus of your goals. Like that is where you want society to be, to make sure that there's just Starfinder players, whether you're playing society or just more and through the rules.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I just want people to play Starfinder. Like I don't care how you play Starfinder. I mean, org play is awesome, and you can meet some really cool people. The volunteers, a lot of whom are in this chat, are top notch. Like a lot of them are just amazing human beings. They have been so supportive this week of like all of our staff. I can't even believe it. It honestly, I have cried over like how amazing it is. And it's just, like I said, it's fun because you can take it anywhere and you can meet people. But I don't care. It's like, do that. Go get an AP, get the core rulebook, and make up an adventure. And like, I'm in a homebrew game with Thirsty and two of my other friends, like my partner and then our friend. And it's like, it's fun. Like do what you want to do, but please play Starfinder. It's a super awesome game, and our setting is just, you can do so much with it.
Question we've got lined up on the docket. We are getting. When are we getting Ramiel and Skitter Gobbolds in Starfinder Society?
I that is something I can't confirm. We have ACP now, and I have gone through, and I have with Alex, we have decided what amount of ACP certain things should be worth, and there are just certain things that, whether they already exist or not, are probably only going to be like special boons or like charity prizes. But hey, you never know. Keep dreaming out there.
Do you find that is a difficult thing to deal with Starfinder organized play? The fact that Starfinder really is like the Mos Eisley canteen of role-playing games with so many species to play?
Yeah, and this is, Alex is amazing, and I love my colleagues, love my teammates, but, we've talked, and I understand the point of Act P to reward like players and GMs, and I am behind that. Like I am behind incentivizing people to step up and volunteer, because without GMs and organizers, there will be no games, right? But I definitely have trepidation with the fact that, and this is a system that is evolving. Like our team is working on it. I would not be surprised if it sees changes down the road. But this is something that we've talked about a lot internally, and it's like I personally feel that everything should be allowed in Starfinder Society, with a few exceptions. Like, I am sorry, but y'all can't play Jinsels. They are like, Thirsty said, they are these evil xenophobic aliens that like pretty much hate everyone that's not like blessed by their god. So, and they don't even want to hang out with you anyway. Like they just don't. You can't sit with them because they just want to stay in the Scoured Stars. But if you go to Gen Con and want to donate to a good charity cause, you can be the one good Jinsel. Like you can be the Dritz of all the Jinsels, right? But we don't have many species like that, because I also do not like having one species that's like all evil or all good. Like that, I'm not a fan of that. That has like racist undertones typically in like fantasy games. And I don't want to see that come into sci-fi. But I really feel like I want to see the cantina. Like I want to see weird aliens and just really whatever people want to do. But there is a balance between, I guess, throwing the gates open and, rewarding people and making sure that, that the campaign doesn't just go completely off the rails. I guess that's what they tell me.
So along similar lines, someone has asked, what is your opinion on the Starfinder Society, the in-world one, supporting oppressive regimes like the Gideon Authority or the Veskarium?
I am so glad you asked that question because this is something that I've been thinking about a lot and talking to some folks in the community about. Starfinder world, there are evil regimes, like just like our real world. Like there are people who support and try to promote like bad policies that hurt people, that oppress people, right? And one of those is the Veskarium. They are not like rampaging conquerors anymore, but their whole society is basically based on like this really brutal space colonialism, right? Because they would go in and conquer planets. And there's several planets that they actually subjugated that had sapient life that they just took over, like the Skittermanders. Skittermanders are weird though, because they're like, well, we'll just help you, and they didn't know what to do. The Vest didn't know what to do with that, so it's kind of funny. But the Patras fought, and that is still kind of it's at that weird place where the Patras they're like recognized, like they have a government that's recognized, but they're still kind of like almost a Vesk protectorate, and there are like active rebellion, like revolutionary groups that are trying to completely earn their independence. And so the society going and like trying to make connections in the Veskarium, some Starfinders aren't going to like that. Like if I was playing like a chaotic good character or a lawful good character even, I would be like, no, like I'm not okay with that. So there was a quest that had an option to help, or there really wasn't an option. Like the mission was to try to help this Vesk general or like commander try to chase down these Patra rebels. And you could spare their lives, like you could rescue them, but they had stolen some weapons. And there are people that didn't like it. And I 100% agree. That wasn't supposed to be a good thing. But that is also why I worked closely with Shay Snow, one of our super awesome contract editors and freelance writers, also an Indigenous person, to go back and explore what I hope is the first of a long-running plot line that explores a Starfinder choice of whether they want to assist a Patra rebellion, actively help the Vesk quash it, or just remain neutral parties as that all plays out. And so that scenario, I'm going to forget what number it is. I want to say it's 406. It's called, oh gosh, wait, it's Prelude to Revolution. Yeah, Combatants Concerto, Prelude to Revolution. And so that scenario was my attempt to address that and give the players more agency, because I thought about the fact that, like, yes, Vesk are not nice, but in a role-playing game, and sorry if I'm just like going on about this, but I find this like very interesting, and I think about it a lot, but in a role-playing game, you are putting yourself into a character and you are pretending to be that character. Like you are experiencing it from their point of view, versus if you're playing a video game or watching a movie or reading a book, that is something that is a more passive experience. And so if you're reading from the point of view of a character that's like supporting the evil regime, it's like, they're, that's bad, but you can play through that story and see like all the pieces coming together and see what's going to happen. But when you're playing at a table, you have to be that person who is enabling the evil regime. So when I really started to think about that, I realized like how, that's really a problem. So I wanted to make sure the players had agency for their characters going forward.
So. Now, that's one of the things I love about Starfinder Society specifically, is that it's not afraid to back away from the big, hard questions and moral quandaries. The Starfinder Society is a private organization that has its own standing navy and a prison that you were just talking about. Why do they have that? So are we going to continue to explore these big questions about why do we get to do this?
Yeah, my plan is to absolutely, I've laid kind of some of the seeds. I don't want to talk too much about future plans for obvious reasons, but I have thought a lot about it, and I have a document where I've kind of come up with some like ideas for how are we going to get into this, because I can see certain factions within the society starting to kind of speak out and question. And now that we have, Ehu Hadif as our first seeker, he came up in the Starfinder Society. He's all about exploration and gathering knowledge, but, he's not about having a prison or, being a military power or a paramilitary power. So he's going to be pushing for different policies now that, once the data scourge threat is dealt with, if it's dealt with, I feel like he's going to turn inward and start really looking at what's going on in this organization. And some people will support him, and I think some people won't. So that could be interesting to see what happens. When can you get a Skitterman adventure?
Sums it up nicely. Stunt Monkey is saying, like, we're just explorers, not a paramilitary black ops unit with virtually no oversight.
Yeah, and it's... Yeah. I hear you. Trust me.
So you did something very special. Can you go into why the new first seeker is groundbreaking, and will you be doing anything like this again?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, our new first seeker, or I guess he's been around for like 2 years now, I guess. But basically what we did was we started the program with a first seeker, Luazi Elsabo, who was super awesome. And I do want her to come back because she's still around. Like, she's still part of the society. She's just stepped down. And what we did was we took player characters. We allowed players to submit their characters for consideration as the next first seeker, which, of course, along with the forum and advised by guidance, basically determines, what the society is going to be doing and focusing on. So there was a scenario called 4 for the First that came out, which introduced the 4 top candidates. And again, all player characters that came from actual people playing the campaign. And basically, after playing through that scenario, all the players got a chance to get to know them and what they were about. And we took a vote. And the winner of that was Ehu Hadif. So that was chosen by the people that are playing the game. I would like to do something like that again, because I really do like the living aspect of the campaign. The only issue is sometimes, as cool as it is, sometimes your characters, even if they're amazing, are not the best fit for like where the narrative is going, or, what the society is and wants to do. So it's a real balancing act, and it's not impossible to happen. I think it will happen again. I'm just not sure exactly when. And it's something that has to be done with a lot of thought, I think.
Yeah, because wasn't one of the candidates like a sentient pickle or something?
Probably.
Yeah,
I wasn't. Like, that was before my time.
There was like 3 pretty good candidates and one not a great idea. Fun, and was getting votes based on being fun.
Yeah. I can totally see a sentient pickle getting voted into the society. And it's just also like with things like, and so the community, like, they're so weird, and I love that, but certain things probably shouldn't happen. Like, for instance, when I said, all right, you know what, you can get drow with ACP for a low amount of ACP. I had people that were telling me about how they were going to make like drow crypto farmers and like MLM, like all this weird stuff. And I'm just like, and like using the dark web, and I'm I'm just like, oh my god. And I'm like, imagine if that character became the leader of the Starfinder Society. So that's cool, but maybe not as our first seeker. So
Thank you. There is another groundbreaking thing that's happening right now at Gen Con where there is a crossover between Starfinder and Pathfinder in some way. What can you tell us about that, and how might people get involved with that?
So the Pathfinder special was last night. So you've kind of missed the boat on that one for Gen Con. Tonight will be the Starfinder special. So basically, it's this big, wacky crossover event where it's going to tie in the Pathfinders can affect the Starfinders, and what happens to them, and also like the Starfinders will encounter traces left by them as they explore and go through this. And you have to play both to really see like the whole story and how it ends. So what I would suggest is check out other cons, particularly digital cons that are coming up, because I know there will be other conventions running these. And I'm telling you, like, you really want to play both. There's also boons for them. I forget exactly what we chose, but there are species like that are exclusive to Starfinder that you can play in Pathfinder with because of the weird timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly, like, crossover nonsense that you can play in Pathfinder, and vice versa. Like, there's some legacy species that we don't have sanctioned that you can get access to. So that's kind of cool. It started about 30 minutes ago. Yes. And Kendra Lee Speedling wrote that. She's super awesome. And Jessica Catalan, who is also amazing, wrote the Pathfinder one. That was a thing that the two of them, Thirsty and myself, worked on pretty closely. And it should kind of have all of our marks in it. So I really hope that everyone likes it that plays it. It's going to be super fun.
Go back to some of our Discord questions. Someone says,
Sure.
I know that you cannot answer this, but if Historia Prime is behind the Data Scourge attack, just blink twice. And people that are listening to the audio version of this that we're going to release, I'm not telling you whether she blinked or not.
There you go. Oh, all of you who stepped away from the computer, I'm so sorry.
A question that I believe you can answer. When will we get an answer on whether brainwashed cyborg Ziggy exists, and will Starfinder of Note boon ever return?
All right. So as for Ziggy, we will have a chance. I teased this elsewhere, I believe. There will probably be a chance to either save or encounter Ziggy somewhere. Yes, I see the save Ziggy hashtags popping up in chat, but be careful what you wish for. Anyway, I can't confirm or deny any allegations of a cybernetic like zombie Ziggy. So we'll see what happens with that. And as for Starfinder of Note, that is something that in the kind of rushed process to get boons over to ACP. I mean, we did our best, but we're busy, and we wanted to just make sure the system could roll out as smoothly as possible. That is not something we did at that time because, like I said, I don't have immediate plans to select another player character to become like a major fixture in the campaign. And that is what that boon is for, is you can submit your character to an email address and for consideration. But I felt bad because I wasn't going to it probably will happen again, but without plans that are concrete. I felt bad about people's characters just like piling up in an email, and like maybe we look at them, but we can't do anything about it. And that just made me feel kind of sad. So I think if that happens, there will be either the boom will show back up for like maybe like a season, or we will do some other call that allows anybody to submit or with certain qualifications.
Question from our live chat, TRDG11 is asking, how will the drift event affect scenarios in the future?
Yeah, well, we haven't said too much about what the drift crisis actually is, so you'll have to wait on that. But anything that affects the drift is absolutely going to affect the Starfinder Society. They rely on drift travel to explore and to go on these missions. So I suspect that there will be at least, I would say probably like two to three scenarios that focus on the drift crisis, like what's going on and what the results of it are. So it's not going to be the year of the drift crisis, but there will be some scenarios that explore those ramifications for the society.
All right, keep going down the list. Are there any 11
Sure.
to 14 or higher scenarios planned for season 4?
Okay, hold on. You know what? I'm gonna pull up my document. If you if you hold for just a second, I can let's see.
Not the Garfield
Accessing
phone
database.
paradox
Let's
document,
see,
though.
where is it? Oh, sorry, I didn't bring my neural cables, so this is going to be a little bit slower. All right, so there it is. Oh, yes, we have all kinds of super secret documents on the inside. All right, so for year 4, you're asking. Let's see. We already had. Where are you? See, now I can't find what I'm looking for. Okay. 11 to 14, there is oh wait, no, that is old. Why did I not clear this out? Apologies. I am defragging this. All right. So we have coming up, there are no more for year 4. We will have a 7 to 10 coming up before the end of the year, which will happen at PaizoCon. That's when we refresh. And as for next year, it does look like we have at least one slotted. That could change a little bit. It could shift, but you can expect to get one 11 to 14 scenario at the very least.
Speaking of new scenarios, there has been the announcement that bounties are coming to Starfinder. What can you say
Yeah.
about Starfinder bounties?
So starting off, those are going to be level 1. Eventually, it's possible that we go into like having higher level ones, just to give more material for like different character levels. But they will start out as level 1. They're going to have a very similar structure and length to the Pathfinder Society boons, although obviously they're in space and they're in Starfinder. They're not. You're not a Starfinder agent in these. You could be like, you walk into a cantina and somebody asks you to do a job, or you're browsing the infosphere and there's like a Craigslist posting or whatever space list posting that's like, hey, I need somebody to do this, and you pick it up. So it is going to be like auto sanctioned. It will fit seamlessly into the campaign, so don't worry about that. But even if you're not playing society, you can grab these and use these to like teach your friends how to play, or just like, hey, we're bored, like we want to play like 2 hours of Starfinder, whatever. So they will be like setting agnostic in terms of like, the society itself, but they will be very easily able to blend into your society campaign and give your characters credit.
So we won't see any society personalities show up as targets of these bounties?
I mean, they could. So far, no. But I mean, it is all occurring in the same world. So there could be some overlap for sure.
I have 3 questions about mechs. Are you ready to talk about mechs?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Let's talk about mechs. I'm ready for mechs.
All right. So one of them is human-sized mechs with sprite pilots one day, question mark. One of them is Raxolite mech, thoughts. And one of them is player character mech race when.
Okay, that sounds really cool. So that would be like a sapient mech that has like you'd be playing the AI in the mech or something. That could be or like a biotech mech maybe. That'd be cool.
Like, Spike rides inside Optimus Prime sometimes.
Yeah, no, for sure. Tech Revolution is I will say wait for Tech Revolution, because there are a lot of like, I don't even remember what all went in there. I did write several mechs and some articles for that book. I know, but there is a lot. So I would say wait for that, because there are going to be some really cool, weird mechs. And I'm assuming that we will revisit them, because I will tell you, I have played them in my home campaign and they are super fun. Building them can be a little more like, kind of grind, like math chunky. You kind of have to spend a little time deciding like what you want, like you're under the hood. But once the thing is built, it fits really easily into normal, because it's normal combat. There's not a special combat system like Starship Combat, and they're just really fun. Like you can shoot, like they do really well against like big groups of enemies. So GMs out there like that do their own content, like pay attention to this, because like it's very satisfying to be in a mech and have like dozens of creatures like swarming towards you, and just take like your line like plasma weapon and just like mow them down, or like shoot all the missiles. So it's a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to Mechs being part of the game. I don't know, maybe society just sells all the ships and buys Mechs.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Eagerly looking forward to the Super Sentai adventure.
Yes.
Next up, you all mentioned that in a recent blog post that the one-shots would be playing a role in organized play. So organized play, not just meaning Starfinder Society.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah. So to elaborate on that, at first the one shots and the one shots were kind of like the modules in that it was the Starfinder AP team and the Pathfinder AP team that did those. They did a few and they were great, but those teams were, that was something new for them. And while, my coworkers are awesome, so it was great, but they were like, this is not really what we normally do. So we kind of talked about it internally, and it was decided that since org play has experience with one-shot adventures that have quick turnarounds and are meant to be digital products, that we should probably take over that. So internally, we had ourselves a little meeting, and we decided that it would be for the best, since we got Mike Kimmel on Pathfinder Society holding it down in Old Galarian, since I'm taking over space and Starfinder Society, that Thirsty was really the best qualified person to kind of like straddle that line. Like, he's this weird time traveling entity now that like exists everywhere and nowhere. Like, maybe he's triune, I don't actually know, but anyway, so he is going to be the one handling all of those one shots for both systems, and I am so excited because I've heard some of his ideas and they are just bonkers.
This explains so much.
Yeah. Nobody is surprised to hear that.
No, but they and because he has his show War Hymns, and he is such an experienced like streaming GM, and I know the company wants to use these for like to not just for groups at home, but for streamers, to use for content like on their channels and encourage other people to watch and play. He really is the best qualified because he knows the most about streaming, GMing online on a stream. So he knows like what, he's thinking about things like, how will it be like, will this give the players time to like bounce off each other and role play and be funny? Is the GM talking too much here, or is this just too wild and the players are going to go off the rails for like 3 hours and it's supposed to only be 2 hours? So he knows like all of those concerns, so I think it's in good hands.
So the next one coming up there is a train heist.
Yes, the train heist is not Thirsty's. That was still done by our awesome Starfinder team. So the train heist is coming out. I don't know a whole lot about that one, to be honest, because I've been kind of like away in the drift in Starfinder Society land. And I know the next one he's teased for Pathfinder is going to have something to do with Red Mantis Assassins, written by John Compton. So
okay.
They shouldn't have put us in charge of stuff.
There was a comment earlier that this is basically Thurston fan fiction.
Oh, goodness. Thurston is the breaker of dreams, the drinker of tears. Don't let him GM for you. He will ruin you. Oh, goodness.
Also, John Compton is an amazing GM if you ever get the chance to play under John Compton as well.
He really is. That there were jokes made in like various like chats and discords about that we're all in, about like when the three of us plan together. It's starting to happen more. It happened a lot in the beginning, and then I feel like we kind of receded and kind of went to our own corners because we were really busy. But we found that it's also like a very stress relieving exercise to like get with the team and just like come up with weird stuff. So there was kind of this joke. I think it was like actually Tinica that said it. She likes to make Starfinder memes, which I love. Anyone that does that, like even if it's a really crappy like MS Paint job, send it to me, because like you don't understand how much I live for those. So she made this thing where it was like the three. And I haven't seen this all of this anime, but like the three like Evangelion computer entities or whatever. But it was like Thirsty, Jenny, and John Compton. It's just really funny. So it's like, so I've referred to us a few times as like the unholy trinity of like organized play, because obviously like Mike is super awesome for Pathfinder Society. Like he's definitely starting to bring his own find his voice and like he's leading that in a cool direction. And Linda I feel like Linda's there to make sure that we don't all just like crash the train off the side of a cliff, basically. So even though John's not in org play anymore, like he's always like, let me know if you want to workshop adventures, like let me know. So he definitely like helps us out. But yeah, you're gonna see more of that. So hope y'all like it.
Yeah, I'm going to be disappointed if the adventures don't include more trains crashing off the sides of cliffs. Though.
Off the cliff we go. We Thirsty says in chat.
Hey, Thirsty.
Hi, Thirsty.
Now that you have an announcement of your own to make today, right?
I do actually. If we're ready for that. So
yeah, it's as good a time as any.
Awesome. All right. So, as much as I've just sat here and hyped up organized play, which I still absolutely love, recently there was some movement around in the company. I don't know if it's been announced, so I don't want to say the other movement. I don't want to get in trouble. So anyway, somebody else moved to do something else, and then because of that, there was an opening. And when we played musical chairs, there was an opening on the Starfinder team. We needed to hire another dev to work on APs and modules. And I go to the Starfinder creative meeting every week already. I work with this team closely. I'm kind of already I'm in the Star Chamber chat. Some people said I'm an honorary member, but like the team is like, no, you're on the team. And just like Thirsty's still there too. So I've been part of it already, but as much as I love Society, when I saw this opening, I just thought, you know what? I love Society, but I can never tell like my magical girl mech military story in Starfinder Society. I can never, it's because the society is like, it's just too prohibitive. I love it. And I've loved, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad I got the chance to do the Data Scourge. But yes, I am going to be moving over to the Starfinder AP team. The first thing I'm doing, I'm currently outlining a module that will come out next summer. Jenny Unchained. Yeah, and that's exactly what it is, because basically what they did was they were like, they don't understand the fact that they have just said you can do whatever you want. Now, I still will be I'm working with the team. We brainstorm. They approve it. Eric and them will make sure it doesn't. Well, I don't know. Like maybe it will just go off the cliff. But you know what? The train ride off the cliff is going to be really fun. So I hope you're all on board for the wackiness that's about to ensue.
Oh, this fills me with such joy, because I love how Thirsty Before You and then your reign in this role has just embraced unadulterated fun. And the more of that I get to see in Starfinder as a whole is just glorious. So, this is a good opportunity. Oh, sorry.
No, go on. This
is a good opportunity to bring up that another way to interact with organized play is with the adventure paths.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We sanction those, so you can play through the adventure path like with your normal group or with your org play group and get chronicle sheets so that you can apply that to characters for org play. So if you like doing both, it's a way to like not skip out on org play time just because you wanted to play, a dedicated AP with a couple of friends. So
right, and
excuse me.
I really love how I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
Yeah, I really love how that also, both in Pathfinder Society and Starfinder Society, you get really cool themed boons and rewards for doing those APs that let you make really cool character concepts. This is a Pathfinder example, but all of my players that made it through Reign of Winners were so excited when they got the Black Mantle on their society characters. Mm-hmm. And so I really look forward to what Magical Girl Mecha unlocks for my Skittermongers.
We'll see if they let me get away with it, but I suspect they will. I can be quite persuasive when I want to be, so hopefully I can make that happen, but or something equally silly. But yes, I'm definitely, I feel like I've already been kind of infecting the Starfinder team with like, hey, I like serious and like tragic and profound stories too. I mean, I play Nier all the time. Like I've replayed those darn games like way too many times and had, an existential crisis every time. Like I like that, but I also really like silly stuff. and I like cute stuff, and I like just being weird and experimental. It's easier to do that in SFS because you've got like 1 or 2 scenarios coming out every month. So it's like less risk, and it's a PDF product, so it's not like a printed book. It's not as much like resources going into it in terms of like money from the company for printing. But I really do think though that there needs to be a little bit of like, levity and humor with all the I mean, this isn't Warhammer 40K. Like, this is not the grim dark future. There's not only war, and and honestly Warhammer 40K is kind of like snarky anyway. So like it's like our setting, I feel like, needs to have a balance. And so I am hoping to bring more of the weird. Calling you out. That's right. Also, Linda, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with you and Thirsty and Mike and James briefly and Mark and everybody in Organized Play, all the volunteers. I'm not going anywhere. Like I still want to freelance. Like, you can still assign me scenarios and I'll write them. So
speaking of writing, you have an AP volume coming up.
I do. Speaking of wacky, Drift Crashers Volume 2, aka Breakfast at Desna's.
Yes!
I'm so excited. I can't believe he let me do that because Tondro approached me and he's like, we're gonna portray, like, they're gonna meet Desna. Like, we need to portray Desna, but they're gonna actually meet her. And I was like, okay, we talked about it. I'm like, we want to do this right, because in the past there were players that met Iomedae, and she was like, I mean, she's a goddess and she's like a righteous crusader goddess, but it was easy for a GM to make her possibly a bit unlikable, from what I heard. So I kind of didn't want to fall. Like, we definitely didn't want to fall into that same stumbling block. So we talked a lot about it, but I have always liked Desna. She is kind of that like weird free spirit person, like genuinely good, but maybe a little capricious and playful. And I tried very hard to impart all of that into her. And I figured, like, well, what would I want to do if I met Desna? Like, I would want to have a mimosa with her and eat like avocado toast. So like, that's what's going to happen, is you're going to have brunch with her. And I am very proud of my Desna encounter. So I really hope all of you like it. I know Tondro's got it in his hands now. I know he's going to make it even better. And our editors are going to polish that even more. So by the time it gets to you, it's probably going to be awesome. So hype. But you got to wait like a year, but hype.
Yeah,
yes,
Desna Weeps.
Sorry.
As a Desna Weeps is part of my just normal vernacular at this point. I'm such a fan of her. Are you going to be going? Are we going to see? Which are we going to see? Like Inner Sea Gods version Desna, Mwangi Expanse version Desna, or cool new Desna?
There is going to be a cool new Desna. There is there is going to be some Desna information coming out before. And this will expand on it. I will say this AP is going to have some articles. Like, I wrote these articles as well. Actually, I worked with James Jacobs too, which was actually really cool. I was kind of like, I never really talked to him, so I was like kind of intimidated and just like, I don't know, like, he's not going to want to talk to me. And he's kind of like, he's kind of like the reclusive writer who's like, I mean, he's nice enough, but like, it's hard to approach him. But I finally like got up the courage to send the email and be like, we need to talk about Desna, because like, you need to be in this conversation. And he looked over my manuscript and we talked about it a lot. And it was super fun, actually. Like, I had a good time brainstorming with him and having him like buy in. And so there is going to be a Desna article that expands further on her and her role in Starfinder as a setting. As well as possibly a cameo from the Black Butterfly, but I don't know. That could happen. And then we're going to have some Desna playable options, which I have gone absolutely ham on, and I hope that what I did makes it in. But James, I was happy and proud because James looked at them and he said, I need Rob. I'm going to call Rob and make sure he starts up his Starfinder game again, because I want to play this. Like, I want to play one of these with my character. And I was just like, oh my God. So I'm so excited. It's going to be so cool. Although Mwangi Expanse Desna is gorgeous. And like, that is like my new headcanon Desna for Pathfinder. So like, I love that art so much.
So Severin Laureate is asking for the name of the AP.
It is called Drift Crashers. New
And
Desna
that's the one
just
that's tied
dropped.
into Drift Crisis?
Yes, it is. It's actually going to be at the very beginning of the Drift Crisis. So you're going to kind of get to play through the inciting incident and see like what happens. So.
Little
We have
Muffin
enough time
says the full
for
AP.
one.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Go for it. No, Little Muffin
We have enough
says
time
the
for
AP is
delays. All right. Trippy Darlin from chat was wondering what you were most proud of that you brought to Organized Black.
Oh gosh, what I was most proud of. I think there's a lot that I did. I'm very proud of the drift crisis of the data. I'm already like thinking about that now. I'm very proud of the data scourge. It was amazing to see the art that was going to go on the cover, like the half page and the pixelated logo, which is something Thirsty and I like came up with. He helped a lot with that because that was my first time to like do all of that. But I'm very proud of that, and I'm a little sad that I'm stepping away. Like I'm going to be involved till the end, but my the person who's going to inherit the throne, so to speak, the next First Seeker is going to start taking a lead on the final scenarios of that season. But I have already outlined them, and I will be working with them. You know, my consciousness will be entering guidance and merging and able to advise. So don't worry. Even as I'm elsewhere in space. But I'm very proud of that. But I feel like I can't pat myself on the back until it's done. So when it's done, you'll see the full arc, and I'll feel like I know if it was successful or not. I think it will be. I hope it will be. But I'm also really proud of the art briefs, which was, I mean, the artists like made them look amazing, but I am so happy with the new art we got for the faction leaders. And every time I see someone compliment it, I just like feel warm and fuzzy because like they're so good. Like they are so good. Like I feel like the art, every now and then we get one that's maybe like not quite what like the artist and I didn't communicate as well maybe, but um I feel like our art for Starfinder Society is like fire lately. So I'm also proud of that.
Anything last to say, Param, or should we start wrapping things up?
One thing I'm going to say is go get involved with Starfinder Organized Play today.
Yes.
You can do so at Gen Con right now, and it would be amazing. You will have fun. It is wonderful. The new player friendly. Absolutely, grab a pre-gen, get in the game, and go enjoy this awesomeness.
Yes, absolutely. And just, it's going to be hard to get used to not seeing my stuff come out that I've been developing like a few months later after I come up with the idea. But you are going to have to wait probably about a year to see my first module that I outline. And I think my first full adventure path will be in like 2023. So you will have to wait a little bit, but I think you will see my influence increasing in Starfinder as a whole before then. So, and you know what? We'll probably talk more about that later this afternoon because I'm coming back with the team to have a little Q&A. I think at 3 Pacific. So
That's
show up then.
Paizo Adventure Paths panel.
Is it? There's a. Oh gosh, I'm in the.
Oh no,
Starfinder.
sorry. 3 Pacific. 3 Pacific is Starfinder
3
edition.
Pacific.
Ask anything. Sorry.
Darn time zones. It's fine.
Well, speaking of that, let's go through the schedule before we let people know where they can find out more about you. So coming up next, we've got Telling Tales, Paizo Adventure Paths. That's at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Then 4 p.m/1, we've got the Industry Spotlight, Freelancing for Paizo, followed up by Ask Paizo Anything, Pathfinder Edition at 5 p.m/2 p.m. And then 6 p.m/3 p.m., we've got the Ask Paizo Anything, Starfinder Edition, which Jenny will be on. All right, so Jenny, where can people find out more about you, follow you online, read your interesting things?
Yeah, so I'll type it in the chat in a second, but I'm on Twitter at Jenny Jarzabski. I'll take like little hiatuses. I like to think it's like I'll go out, I have to go on a journey, I'll be in the drift, and I don't have the infosphere, but then I'll come back. I've been pretty active this week. I wonder why. Anyway, I've been pretty connected to the infosphere this week, and I probably will be more so in the future because that has been very very helpful and lots of support. And yes, absolutely solidarity, absolutely. So I you can find me there. I also stream on Twitch on my channel Jezebel77, which you can probably see in the chat. I mostly just stream random video games that I feel like, but I am hatching a scheme to potentially do some Starfinder content early next year. So kind of watch those spaces, my Twitter and the Twitch channel, to kind of see where that's going. And honestly, if you just go to the event Discord for Gen Con, you can see me on there. Just like if you friend me, you just have to send me like Starfinder memes or like pretty, like, I don't know, magical girl stuff. But you can find me on there if you really need me. I'm pretty open to communications as long as everybody is respectful and cool and friendly. So yeah. Let's see. I'll type when I have a scheme. Go check it out because it's going to be great. Thank you, Linda. Or Mark. I think it's just Linda, but it could be both. Like they sometimes like tag team.
It was Linda earlier, but she was saying that Mark was like hovering.
Okay, so he's there in spirit. So obviously this is my Twitch, and then Jen Jarzabski, or at Jen Jarzabski rather, is my Twitter. So find me on the Bird
since
app.
you alluded to it, I just want to recommend people check out the hashtag Paizo Accountability. Check in on your favorite Paizo employees, freelancers, influencers, anyone in the Paizo sphere. Check in on them, see how they're doing, give them your support, let them know that you care and you understand what's going on. And,
yes, please do.
That's it for us, Sperm. We've done our 4 interviews. Well, I guess we're going to see if we can reschedule that John Compton one. It might happen during Gen Con weekend. We're not sure. But just in case it doesn't, that is it for us. So where can people find out more about No Direction?
You can find out more about what we do over at NoDirectionPodcast.com, as well as our Discord server, which is available at the Discord link, where you'll find the chillest community to hang out and talk about Starfinder and Pathfinder and all the awesomeness. You will love the blogs, podcasts, and amazing content that we put out every single day that supports Pathfinder, Starfinder, and general nerdity that we all love.
Until next time, I'm Ryan Costello.
And I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param.
And
bye, all.
If you want to find the path, you need No Direction. Bye, everybody.